Hello and welcome to your introduction to developing with Couchbase. This is a description of all the tools and processes and things like that that we use in order to get the stuff out of our editors and into production environments. So hopefully this overview will give you an idea of what's going on. It won't go into tremendous amounts of details on the tools, but everything should be obvious, especially if you have a decent background, which I'm trying to provide here. The first thing is we have three major kind of pieces that we're working with. There's completely third-party pieces that we have to build and include that we'll contribute to, but they're primarily third-party. We have OSS projects that we're driving. Memcached and CouchDB are things that are not really owned by us entirely, but we're major contributors to or have primary authors. And then there's things that are entirely ours that we build product around. Those things we keep fairly separate, but when we build a product, we mingle them all together and we turn it into one thing. Repo helps us manage that, so it will grab the different parts, sort of like submodules, put them all in one place, and let us do a build on top of all of it. So the general process when you want to write code is, well, first of all, you have to get it. We store all of our code on GitHub. However, we use GitHub as a read-only location, so we will pull from GitHub, get code, do stuff to it, and then once you have something that you think works, you have a clean set of change sets, all those sort of things, we introduce our code review system. So the code goes into the code review system from your local repo, and then it goes through the review process. Once your code's considered good enough by people, it makes its way back into GitHub, and you have the circle of life. Now from GitHub, a few things happen. There's triggers that GitHub will fire when new code comes in, so it'll send a copy to my house, a copy to a local Git repo that we have in the office here, and then it sends a change notification over to BuildBot. BuildBot has a stability timer that's per project configurable that waits for changes to stop flowing in for a particular project, and when that project is stabilized, it sends off build instructions to a variety of builders, Windows and Linux, Red Hat, Ubuntu, things like that, OS X, Solaris. Once the build is complete on all of those, the artifacts and information stuff comes back and it lets us know what's happening. These are individual component builds. We have a roll-up build that also does the same thing. There's also a side thing if you're using some of the, if you're developing on some of the components that are written in C, for example, that are isolated enough, we can actually run stuff through the build system without actually going through GitHub as test builds and still pull the artifacts and test results and all that other sort of stuff. Code review is the thing that a lot of people are afraid of, that unnecessarily. A lot of people have dealt with code review systems in the past that are really complicated and disruptive to the work. We don't believe that ours is. Ours seems to actually help us quite a bit. The basic process that you go through is you create a change, and since this is Git, you have to decide whether your change is actually complete. So if it's not, you can just keep making changes and keep revising and keep doing that. Once you have something that you think is good enough to share, you send it off to Garrett. Garrett has it sit there, someone picks it up for review. If someone gives it a +2, then it's good. If someone doesn't give it a +2, or there's something wrong with the code, which there usually is, we send it back, we revise, we go through the process again. At the point where you do get a +2 review, and concurrently you may also get it verified, but if it fails verification, sometimes we'll have code that looks really good, but it breaks some test somewhere. We go back through the process again. And then you just kind of go through that for a while. Eventually, you'll actually try to apply it. There may be concurrent changes. One of the changes conflicts with another. We have to rebase and blah, blah, blah. So finally, all of the stuff is good. Your code's done. It makes it back into the Git repo. Everyone has access to it, does builds, all that wonderful stuff. Everything goes through the code review. So our test code, our component code, everything we do, we send through code review. So there's really no exceptions there. The code review system is reviewed at membase.org. Also, the repo thing I mentioned before is from the Membase Manifest project. It's got a README, how to get started, and all that kind of stuff. Any more questions, which I assume you'll have because there's confusion, just get a hold of me, ask me, but this should give you a good overview. Thanks.